Please rise for the invocation, followed by the pledge to the U.S. and Texas flag. Good morning.
Good morning. We'll just open in prayer. Father, in Jesus' name, we just open this meeting. We surrender it to you, Lord God. I just thank you for the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding that the commissioners and the judge hold and everyone in the room. God, we speak blessings over this region, over this county, over this city. Father, we thank you that we will live up to the name Corpus Christi in the body of Christ, including the county, Father. I thank you that just as Queen Esther in the Bible was placed in a position for a season, that these men and women have been placed in this position in this season for a reason. God, I pray for solutions and strategies and ideas to lead our community well. God, I pray blessings over them, over their families, their homes, their children, and their legacy, Father. God, we just bless you today. We bless this meeting and the business that takes place here today, Father. We surrender it to you. Have your way. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge to the United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you very much. Well, good morning, everyone. Today is July the 25th. We're meeting in the Nueces County Commissioner's Courtroom in the courthouse in the Nueces County Courthouse. I'd like to certify that 4 members of the court are present. Commissioner Chesney is off today and gone. We have a quorum. I'd like to call for approval of the minutes of July the 9th. We want to table the minutes? Do we want to table the minutes?
No.
No?
No, we're not tabling the minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. I'd like to call for approval of the minutes of July 9 and July 11, please. I have a motion. Is there a second? I have a second. Comments? See none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Okay. Who's going to? We're going to table E1.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. I'd like to move to table E1. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Thank you. We are honored today to honor someone. Is Helen here? Helen, are you by yourself? You have some family with you. Well, that's all right. We want you to come all the way up to the front, if you will. Bring your coworkers, or they can bring you. Helen, come on around and come up here. We're going to do this up here, if you may, please. And we're honored today to honor you. Come on around. Thank you. You guys can come up here. Want to take that up there? I know you'll want to say something. Come on around. Helen, please, if you will. Helen is retiring after 22 years of service to Nueces County, and that's a long time.
Yes, it is.
Have you been with Extension the whole time?
No, I was with purchasing for a year and a half.
A year and a half, and now with Extension.
And now with Extension.
And what are you going to do in retirement?
Nothing.
This is my kind of lady right here. We are honored to tell you how much we appreciate all your service to the citizens of Nueces County. And he has the mic, and he's going to say something nice. I know. I can see the look on his face. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, sir.
No, Judge and Commissioners, it's been a pleasure to work with Helen over the past 5 years. I've just had a short part of her career to work with her, and, you know, it takes a lot of work and stress to keep us functioning the way that we do, and she bears a lot of that in the position that she had with us, and we just greatly appreciate, you know, her working with us, you know, and I think that she's enjoyed her time with Extension. She had an opportunity to follow her passion. She was a master gardener for a lot of time, and that's how she found out about the opportunity to move from purchasing over to Extension. And so I hope that she, you know, has felt that it's been a rewarding opportunity for her. We've, enjoyed every minute of it. Whenever I came here, she was described to me as very loyal and dedicated, and those are two adjectives over the last 5 years that I think are exactly appropriate for her and the service that she's provided. There's no question that she's, been a loyal and dedicated employee, and not only in her career, but, it's evident that she's loyal and dedicated to her friends, her family, her faith, and her church, and I really appreciate everything that she's done for us in our department.
Helen, thank you.
Oh, I gotta say something.
Yeah. If you don't do nothing, you still have to say something.
Fair enough, fair enough. I've enjoyed working with the extension and Nueces County. I went to go visit a lot of my friends before I came up here, and I'm going to miss everybody. It's been great working here, and I thought, now how am I going to get in? They're not going to let me in anymore. So thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. And
Thank you. Wish you the
I look forward
best.
to retirement. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much. All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Judge. Thank you. Public comment? Public comment is reserved for items not posted on the current agenda. I'm going to probably miss this, but Chloe? Is that correct? Torres. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Chloe Torres, and I'll be reading a letter on behalf of the Corpus Christi Immigration Coalition.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Dear County Commissioners, we as members of the Corpus Christi Immigration Coalition are writing to request that you invite Sheriff Jim Kalin to your meeting to discuss the county's role in federal immigration enforcement, the 287G program, and its effect on the community. Sheriff Kalin entered into the 287G program earlier this year, and we recently discovered that this program was only implemented on Monday, July 16th. We would like a chance to question Sheriff Kalin before the Commissioners to get more information on the nature of the program and how it works. To be very clear, we are not making any allegations about the program and how much it costs, mostly because we do not have much information about it. This request is a bid, above all, for government transparency. We would specifically like Sheriff Kalin to publicly answer the following questions. Number 1, what is the exact nature of the 287G agreement with ICE? 2, how many people have been remanded to ICE since the program went into effect? And how many people have been remanded to ICE in 2018 before the program went into effect? 3, what were the crimes or violations that prompted their arrest? 4, what evidence does the sheriff have to support his allegation to KRIS 6 News on July 16th that, quote, your tax dollars go amok in spending resources on people that are not citizens of this country? Does the sheriff, and by extension the court, have specific data to back up this allegation for Nueces County specifically? And lastly, 5, what prompted his decision to join the 287G program after he had said that he would not do so? So we just like a public meeting with him. Again, we just want transparency. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, Judge, can
Most,
I ask our county attorney real quick a question, just a clarification? Are these questions, can this be deemed, or is this any way to consider this as like any kind of public information request? I mean, there's specific questions that are asked on there.
Under the Public Information Act, it doesn't require answering questions. It's about documents
Okay.
and asking for documents.
Okay, so they're not asking for any documents here then? They're asking
Doesn't
for
appear
data?
that. I can review it to see if
Can
in
you?
fact that is the case, and
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Thank you. I just want to make sure.
Sure.
She didn't say it. I don't see it here skimming through this, but I just want to make sure that. Thank you.
Mimosa Thomas.
Hi, my name is Mimosa Thomas. I live at 710 Ponder Street. I'm also here on behalf of the Corpus Christi Immigration Coalition to request that the sheriff have an open forum to discuss these questions that we have. They're important questions that need answers, and while they may not have answers that are available in a public information request, there's still answers that I think that the taxpayers are entitled to, especially when Sheriff Kalin is making allegations to our news outlets saying that we're spending tax dollars on undocumented immigrants, when in fact it seems that he's the one spending tax dollars on undocumented immigrants. Or maybe he's not, we don't know, because we don't have the information. We really feel that the opportunity to publicly question and have a conversation with our elected officials is an important part of how democracy functions in this country, and we want the sheriff to answer these questions before the commissioners to educate both them and the public about the program. Because the commissioners control the budget of the county jail, this is an issue of paramount importance to the court and to Nueces County. So we really want the people to be able to hear what the sheriff has to say about this program, and we want the commissioners to hear what the sheriff has to say about this program. And if y'all don't like what you hear, we're asking, or if what you hear does not reflect what the people want, we're asking that you use your power in controlling the budget to make sure that this is enacted in a way that the people of Nueces County feel comfortable with. We look forward to discussing this program with the county commissioners and the sheriff in the next few weeks, and we hope that you will either call a special session or add it to the agenda, but please address it in some way. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment this time? Any other public comment? See none. Consent agenda items will be items that will be voted on.
I got some public comment. I got some public comment.
Well, okay.
And I know that in the last time when people were here that asked, they could put it in the agenda, and I don't know who were they asking, the commissioner's court or somebody, and nobody contacted me to put it in the agenda, but if something we need to put in the agenda, we've got to make sure it be in the agenda next time. Because, I like some of these questions also be answered. I'm also like to know what's happening to the taxpayer dollars that we talked about several months ago, and the overtime and everything else. So I think that, I think that there's a need, and we'll put it in the agenda, and we'll discuss and see what comes out of it. I like some of those questions answered too, so thank you.
Any other public comment? Morning.
Sorry, I'm late. My name is Eddie Canales. I'm from Corpus Christi, Texas. I was, last time we were here, we were discussing the 287G and asking for some accountability. And we're back again for the same thing in that respect. We are asking judges and commissioners that there's above-board transparency. That's all we were asking for, because we don't know what has transpired with the sheriff. We were not making a point that the sheriff was out there rounding up people. It's obvious that 36 people have been picked up by the sheriff and been turned over to ICE. So in that respect, what are the consequences of that? Is the county on record to follow these policies that, separating families, separating parents from children? That's what's going on, and we want some accountability in that respect. We want to know what neighborhoods those families were being picked up. Where were those violations? Where was probable cause taking place in that respect? So that's all we want. We want the sheriff to be present. We want some accountability, some transparency. We believe that is a right of a good government for that to happen, and that's why we're back over here to actually clarify the record in terms of we don't know what the costs are. You were the best judge in terms of what's that costing the county. So we're very concerned about this program. It's even before 287G takes effect, you've already turned over 36 people to ICE. So those, I saw when the agreement was put into place. It was back in January. Did you guys formally approve that There's a process in terms of review. So that's reason we're back again to clarify in terms of our request for transparency and accountability regarding that program. Thank you very much.
Any other public comment? Consent agenda items or items will be voted on by one vote unless a member of the court or a member of the public asks that that item be pulled for discussion. I have been asked to pull 3D2 by the auditor. I'll now call for public comment on 3A through 3Q. 3A through 3Q, public comment. See none. Commissioners, any comment on 3A through 3Q?
I would like to pull A, B, D, P, and Q.
A,
B,
right.
D,
D,
P, and Q.
A, B, D. What's the other?
P, as in Paul, and
All.
Q.
My goodness. Okay, just a moment.
They'll be quick.
No, that's fine. P, Q.
K, Judge.
Which one?
Item K. Just a brief question on that.
H.
K.
K.
K is in Kyle Field.
I have to go to Walmart and get my hearing aids fixed. But okay, K. Okay, that it? All right. I'll call for a vote of the commissioners on consent agenda items. Hardly. Consent agenda items 3, E, F, G, H, I, J, L, M, N, O. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. A. Okay, Ms. Vaughn.
I was really concerned. I'm looking at the electricity bills, I guess. Is Cavallo Energy electrical bill as well? Is that a utility bill?
Yes.
It is? Okay. I mean, these are really high bills. I mean, I'm assuming like the one that's for $67,000, is that for one specific building or several buildings? Can y'all get me that information?
These are based on one particular unit, one particular reading item, so it would be one building.
For $67,000?
Yes.
What building is that?
Right, this courthouse.
The courthouse? Wow, we need to do some energy efficient things, don't we? Okay, and the one for $28,000?
I'll have to look into see who that was for. Most likely it's probably the Calderon building or one of the other larger buildings, maybe juvenile facility. I'll look into that for you, Commissioner.
And in the city of Robstown?
City of Robstown would be the Calderon building.
Wow, and then we have another one for $32,000 for city of Corpus Christi.
That's probably the water and gas that comes into this building.
Okay. I'm just curious. Just seems expensive. I can see probably the courthouse, but the Calderon building, that's really a high utility bill. Do we have anything where we can monitor where they can't turn the thermostat up? Like you go into hospitals, they're set.
Right now, we know we've had Johnson Control work over some of the buildings, the courthouse, the juvenile facilities, but they have not reached the outside facilities yet. Okay. And that may be something the court would like to consider bringing them in to do another evaluation of that. We went through two processes, phase 1, phase 2, and the first one was a debt service that we're paying back, and this last one was for the air handlers in the jail, and we're paying that as a lease own. So that's something we'll have to work through the court to try to get them on the list.
Okay, I'm just really concerned because we're trying to cut costs, and those seem extremely high to me. Okay, another thing that really stood out is this $302,000 to Wells Fargo purchasing cards.
Yes.
Can you tell me about this? Are these all gas cards? Are they like a Visa card? What are they?
That's our purchasing card that we have for I'm not sure exactly how many actually purchasing card we have. There's for mostly our purchasing agent will buy supplies, or our other agents, our outside agents will pay for travel and other expenses, and it averages about $3,000 to $4,000 a month.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, and with these charges, are those considered in the budget?
Yes, they have to be in the budget. Yes.
In the budget. I would really like to look at some of these charges.
Sure.
Can I set an appointment to do that?
Of course.
Maybe it doesn't concern anyone else in here, but it really concerns me that bill is that high.
Yes. We can definitely go through, and we'll set a time to sit with you, and we can go through each bill you want to, and it must be verified and validated by the department and the person that's reconciling the card, yes.
Okay, and I'm just curious how many cards we have, Are some of this for fuel?
We have a different gas card for fuel. We don't, the
It's not
purchasing
it?
card is not used for gasoline as far as I know.
Okay, we can find that out.
That's correct.
That's correct, okay. All right, okay, that's good on that one. Let me just make sure I don't have any more on this one. No, that's all I have on that one.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay, D2. Dale?
Yes, sir. We had provided you a list of unfreezed list on item section 2. We need to amend that section. We've been discussing with our newly appointed building superintendent and public works director, and the middle item on there that says building superintendent, department 1570, building technician, mechanic at 2501. We would like to remove that from the unfreeze list, because we're going to be using that as a budget discussion item and a reduction for his next upcoming budget. We've already talked to him, and he would like to have that done.
Okay.
The rest we'd like to keep as is.
So move. Is there a second?
I had a question on D, since we're on
Okay.
it.
All right, go ahead.
I'm trying to understand, because I'm reading the header up here, and it says, let me get my glasses on. To reinstate frozen budgeted positions. Okay, they're frozen, so why are we reinstating them if they're frozen?
Well, we're allowing them now to become eligible to be in HR to be hired.
Why did we freeze them?
Well, once the person is terminated according to our budget, the budget document has a resolution passed by the court that says the Commissioners Court has control over all positions. When a position becomes vacant, it becomes frozen until y'all take action to unfreeze the position, so it can be advertised and filled.
Well, my thought was you froze them because we didn't have the money to
No.
pay it, and so that's y'all. It's an automatic thing that they do. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, just thank you.
That it?
That's sure.
All right. Now, do we have to take action on D2?
And A and B.
I think I made a motion, didn't I, to remove that? Did I get a second?
Pull 3. Is there a motion to pull 3?
No, it's D2 is the one that we're on right then. That's a request of the auditor, right?
That's correct.
And I made a motion to do that, but I don't think I got a second.
Which item?
Okay.
D3?
D2, he wanted to pull the item on the Public Works because we're going to be discussing that. Okay, thank you very much. All right, and when I vote on that, we'll vote on that change as well. All right, I have K. Who was K? K.
That was John.
Oh, I'm sorry.
John?
Yes.
Okay.
Who's going to talk on this one?
Our office posted, I'm not sure what your specific question is, but I can find out the information if I don't know it.
Right. So in the past, when we've talked about the airport, we have mentioned that there's a high demand for hangar space. And so I was just wondering what the process was, or I guess Mr. Hunter was the next in line, or how did that go that he was awarded this? I'm sure John is doing his job there at the airport, but just to help me better understand what the process is, because I've heard from several people over the last 2 years now that they have an interest in wanting hangar space out there, and so now we're awarding a new slot. I guess one became vacant, and so now we're executing this agreement. So just wanted to see what the process was.
I believe, Tyner, can you follow? But this was
I can follow up with that, but my understanding is John keeps a waiting list.
So they just pretty much go next on the line and just...
That's correct.
And I've got a question. $95 a month, is that the going rate? I thought we had gone up to higher than that. I mean, that's $95 a month is really nothing for a...
That's really not a hangar. That's just a tie down close to a hangar. It's not really a hangar location. It's not inside a building. It's next to a building, so it's just a tie down spot where they can park their airplane. And that's the going rate that we've had for about, I think, 10 or 12 spots there.
But if you get a plane there, we're responsible for the plane, right?
Well, according to the airport agreements, they must provide insurance.
I know one time we got a list of all the prices for the hangars.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have that?
We can get that for you, yes.
I'd like to have that.
I'd like to see it as well.
Okay. All right. John, are you going to make a motion on K?
Yes, sir. Move to approve.
All right, may I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Both same sign. P?
Well, P and Q are together, but Judge, I didn't get to go over B. I went over A, but not B.
Okay, we'll go do B.
Go back to B.
Sure.
Okay, I have some questions on item B on page 9, and it's probably not the same as you've got, Dale, but it was to Al's Tree Service for $46.50, the Calderon building. So we don't do those things ourselves. We call someone in to do cutting of trees. Was that landscape or just a one-time cutting of trees and shrubbery?
This is probably a one-time deal. We try to work with inland parks to help assist with this, but sometimes because they're out at other locations, we hire a tree trim service to be able to cut down something that might be a hazard. But Edward might be able to answer that.
We weren't asked on this, but generally we do help out Public Works Commissioner whenever we can.
I kind of thought you did. That's why when I saw that, I thought, why are we farming it out?
Was this anything to do with the, wasn't there a problem with the chiller or something? I know I got one brief one time that there were some trees that are getting in the way of the unit on top of the roof, and so we were having to clear back some tree limbs.
I think that's correct, Commissioner. I think there were some areas where the trees were already starting to grow on top of the buildings, and what's happening is you get some of the brush and leaves that are going into the drainage gutter, so it's quite amount of trees to cut, so we had somebody to...
That was really expensive to do that.
Yes, ma'am. We'll look at, we've looked at costs, and we'll
I just am all about saving as much as we can.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And then design of a new park logo for $58.25 to Snyder and Associates. What's that?
That's Coastal Parks. They had a damage to the logo for the Potty Bali Pier, if I'm not mistaken, and they're trying to get that adjusted and repaired. Unfortunately, I don't have that information from them on that, but I know that's where it's coming from.
Well, it says design, so it sounds like it's design of a new park logo.
Well, they said that the last one was damaged by Hurricane Harvey, and they needed a newer logo to begin with, so they're having to design theoretically a new one to replace the damaged one.
Okay. Okay, and then you've got, let's see. Bear with me. What's Windstream Corporation? It's for the telephone?
Yes, ma'am. That is correct. Our IT phone.
Oh, it's the IT. Okay. I'll get this one of these days, guys. I won't be having to ask you.
You're doing fine. Lunch is at 12.
Okay. And I see on the City of Corpus Christi, so I guess we pay a portion of intergovernment personnel from them?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Is that for Tom Taglaboo? Who's that for?
Well, we actually have a few that we do. Most of it's covering Dr. Burgeon and Net through their City County Health Department. We pay a portion of it, and then we also pay a portion of those the last MOU agreement that we have. I believe we pay part of the salaries for the 911 system.
Okay.
That's not Taglaboo.
Not Taglaboo?
Not $1.
Okay, because I thought we had Tyner.
We do.
Okay. And the other one, it says Nueces County Auditor, Fiscal Agent, and Arbitrage Services. What's that one for?
We charge the CSCD, our adult probation, a fee to be able to, they're a fiscal agent. According to the law, we're the fiscal agent for our adult probation, our juvenile probation, as well as the MPO. And there's one other one, I'm not sure. I think we've got an agreement with the service drainage district. One of the drainage districts we have is as a fiscal agent, and we are able to charge a fee for our service to be able to recover some costs. So we charge CCD, we charge juvenile, and as well as MPO to prepare our services, and they provide us about $60,000 to $70,000 a year.
Okay. And the last one, what's our policy whenever, because I'm noticing travel expenses, and for one day I see it's for 2 days, 280-something, 482. Do we have a policy that states how much they can spend when they go out of town on food, hotel? Do we have any type of policy?
Yes, we do. We'll provide you a copy with our travel policy that states we require them to get the lowest cost hotels they can, usually the government rate. If there is a conference, we provide them a per diem of, I think it's $46, if I'm not mistaken now. We've recently raised a little bit per day for them to use the funds with no receipt required, and that's what we have, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And the P card cannot be used for food.
No, it cannot.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Have I got?
Oh, P and Q, I forgot about them.
Okay.
I just am curious what the difference is between the two, because it's for the same thing, and I'm wondering why we just didn't put it on one.
It's two separate
Okay.
procurement process. The one for P is the procurement process we go through to provide services to the residents outside of the county.
Okay.
And the residents pay for that service. The Q is for dumpsters at county buildings, and we pay for that
Gotcha.
service.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I need a motion on
So
P and
moved.
Q. All right, I need a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, pose same sign. Now, does that pick everything up on the consent agenda?
I'm not sure if you guys voted on A and B.
I don't think we did.
Make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pose same sign. Thank you. Now, does that cover us? Got it all?
And then on D,
On which?
you had made a motion on that amendment, but.
Yeah, I got a second.
Nobody voted.
No, but I told when I vote on the consent agenda item, we'll vote on that. I'll call the vote specifically. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign. Now, that get us? We okay? All right. Regular agenda item. We're delighted today to have a presentation from Estrada Hinojosa Investment Bankers, who are our we have a long-time relationship with them on our debt. Noe is here. Welcome.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning. Now, Commissioners, this is not a decision briefing. This is an information briefing. If the court elects to move forward, we will put an agenda item on the agenda for the next meeting that will deal specifically with refinancing of debt. Okay? Here we go.
Judge, members of the court, Noe Hinojosa with the Estrada Hinojosa Company, thank you again for the opportunity to be of service to you. Commissioner Vaughn, good to see you again. I haven't seen you on this platform here in a while, so welcome. Look forward. Hopefully this won't carry through lunch, but in any event.
We're doing fine.
Okay. What you have before you is basically a booklet that we prepared for your benefit regarding the county's debt position. And if you go to just turn to page 1 real quickly, you'll find that as of today, as of July 1st, actually, 2018, there's about $120 million outstanding that had been issued in times past. There's a column on the top right-hand side, and it tells you also the call dates. Call dates mean basically when you call the investor and you want to pay him off early or refinance his debt, take him out because the rates are higher. And I think it's important in the circumstances we're in today, prior to the tax reform in December, counties and cities, school districts, political subdivisions could refinance their debt literally whenever there was a benefit, at least one time. Now you don't have that benefit. So if you're to restructure or refinance anything, you have to do it on a taxable basis, meaning that the interest rate that you pay the bondholder, you pay the lender, he has to declare it for income purposes. And thus, there's a spread when you go borrow money. In the old days, we borrow money on a tax-exempt basis. Today, if you do a refinancing, it has to be done on a taxable basis. And that's important to note because whatever we do here, if we do a refinancing, we really can't get anything done on a tax-exempt basis. It has to be on a taxable basis. So the interest rates are slightly higher. How much higher? By 60 to 90 basis points, depending on the market. So that's important because we don't have anything that we can call in and do it on a tax-exempt basis. The earliest we can get a bond refinance is on or about 2/15/2020. So knowing that and knowing how conservative you've been, actually, if you see on the right-hand corner, there's a little history on the tax rate of this county. In 16, you used to be at 3169. Now you're at 3080, and you were like that in 17. I think what's also important to note is that over the last 10 years, the county tax rate used to be at 35 and change, possibly even 36, and you've been bringing it down some. In other words, try to work within your means. And I've had the pleasure of working with you, Judge, and for 8 years now, I think. And, the judge's position was, let's live within our means, and we kept drawing down that revenue streams in order to be efficient on the expense side. And that's a reflection of that leadership, I think. When you look at the graph at the bottom, there's another example of your conservative approach to funding county government. But basically, you'll see a bar with two colors. The blue color is principal, and the gray is the interest that you pay for that principal. So over the next 10 years, you're paying right at about 75% of your principal. If you get to 12, you're closer to 80%. And that's a pretty significant approach to paying off your debt, because that's what keeps you in that AA category. Sort of like financing a home, and instead of doing a 30-year mortgage, you do a 15-year mortgage. And this is not necessarily 15. Actually, I suspect that the average life on these bonds is close to 11 years, and that's pretty remarkable. Then get out of the pretty pictures, and then I'll take you to the ugly spreadsheet, where it's nothing but numbers. That's page 2. What's important here to note is your second column from left to right. In years past, you've had actually values north of 28 billion, for that matter, 216 million. And Harvey was something that we suspected would hurt the county. We actually suspected it would hurt a lot more than what the real recent numbers have shown us. So since about April, I believe, we got together a small group here in this county with the judges, with the judge present, about thinking of options. How can we preserve the tax rate where it's at, and try to preserve also our savings accounts and all the various funds. So we're dealing here specifically just with the debt fund. We're not dealing with the M&O fund. So when you look at the previous page, you'll see 3 tax rates: the road and bridge tax rate, the M&O, and the INS. This is just INS, or debt service. So we thought that we could get hurt as much as $1.2 billion. Your staff will tell you that the tax rate is set up on your appraised value. Well, we need to be more specific. I think what we try to do is set up the tax rate on the frozen value. There are exemptions, abatements that you give, either economic development or homestead. Now, we also have frozen values, and the real frozen value, as has been reported to us as of today, it's about $27,777 million, which is about, as you can see, about $500 million less than the previous year. So when you're thinking about how to balance the budget, how to deal with the challenge of generating enough revenue from taxes to pay your debt, this particular fund is under a little bit of a stress, and I'll walk you through there. Today, in 18, your payments, if you go to the fourth column there from left to right, your payments this year are about $13.5 billion. In 19, it'll grow to $13.9 billion, and then million, and then 13.9 again in 20. So we did that on purpose. We did that with the auspices that the county will continue to grow economically. When you have an event that you can't control, like Harvey, and affecting some of our constituents, for that matter, or political subdivisions, then you want to make sure that your debt, when you can, pay it off quickly. But if you can't, because you face this challenge, that you can do something about restructuring or modifying your commitments to bondholders. So what this county has done, if you go over to this 7th column from left to right, you'll see this number in parentheses. And he basically talks about issuer contribution. And the issuer contribution has basically been a plugged-in number that the staff, knowing how your savings account is on your debt service fund, you plug it, you take money from there and offset what otherwise be required to do through a tax through a tax rate. So you'll see that in 18, we expect to draw down $2 million from the savings account in this particular fund. So then you look at the very top right-hand corner, and you'll see there the savings account of $3.25 million. We've used that fund to basically offset having to have, I guess what we need is another penny of tax rate to be able to collect, par for par the obligation. So after we do this infusion of $2 million to offset our tax rate necessary to pay debt, we expect a fund balance in this particular fund to drop to $1.8 million. Now, the practice is that if everything was fine, we could then use that fund balance again in 2019. Problem is that if we adopt a budget with that kind of approach, you're going to have, literally could have a deficit of about $400,000 in 19. So then the question was, okay, how can we fix it? How can we prevent from having to have that challenge? And then as you go about accumulating that particular deficit in that particular fund, then the numbers grow really rapidly in terms of your negative fund balance. So what we're trying to do is bring to you an approach of how to cure that challenge, and that takes me to the next page. And by the way, if you have any questions, jump in. If you turn to the next page, what we did on the list of your candidates to be refinanced or to be restructured, we basically looked at the 2010 bonds, and we will extrapolate a portion of those bonds and bring it up to a 2018 refunding if we were to do that. The tax rate will remain the same at 443, and what will be important to all of you is how does my payout of principal get affected? And you'll see that it drops from a 78, 79% to maybe somewhere close to 73, 74%. We suspect that the rating agencies are not going to have any problems with it, with an approach like that, if you were to choose to restructure. So your payments will then drop. The blue line is what will be the proposed payment structure. Then you ask, well, what happens in 23? Well, in 22, we drop that payment, and then in 23 it comes back up. Well, that's part of having to understand your debt portfolio. Your next bonds subject to a call date are on 2/15/22. So as we get closer to 2023, and 2022 for that matter, you'll be able to do a tax-exempt refinancing. Now, we just hope that rates then are what they're today, despite the fact that we've seen the Federal Reserve adjusting interest rates. The rates that the Federal Reserve has done in terms of adjusting upwards have been on the short end of the scale, of the yield curve, not on the back end. In fact, today, if you do a 30-year mortgage, that rate out there is probably about 100 basis points higher than if you were to do a loan on the front end, 10-year maturity or whatever. And I think that that's what we're trying to take advantage of. When interest rates are still low, can we do something about that? So then you turn that page, and we get to the ugly numbers again. And you'll see that we're using the same property value, net assessed value. Your payments on the existing debt are about $13,895 for 19. If we were to do a restructuring, we would suggest that you take out 4 years. That's the fifth column from left to right. We'll basically bring down payments by $2.25 million in the first 2 years, and then $1.5 million. And what that will do, if you go to the highlighted column on the right side, you'll see your fund balance preserved at $1.8 million, because we would not be contributing from fund balance again like it is on the column that says issuer contribution. We think, in a very optimistic way, that fund balance of $1.8 million probably in a couple of years will be again back to $3 million. What builds that reserve is basically a function of delinquent taxes being paid promptly, and two, that property values get back on to where they used to be. So this is sort of an approach that will heal this particular fund, and then as you can see, going back to the refunding, as we wipe out those payments, then we throw them in the back. And I don't go very far back. In fact, when you see the 2030 bonds or the 2030 payment, we're not extending debt. We're just within the same time frame that you committed to pay back to the bondholder in 2010. You'll do that within the same time frame. We're just picking and tossing. That's what we're doing. We toss into 2028 and 2029. You and I know that anytime you do something like this, where you take out principal and put in the back, the cost associated with that, it comes at a price. So if you go in the same column, at the very top, we will take out about $13.9 million, and there'll be a present value loss of about $350,000 to do this financing. I will tell you that just like in the past we've done refinancings, I think every refinancing we've done for this county, we saved money. I think that we have at least saved $3 million of refinancings that we've done in the past. So this will go, the other way. But you're doing it in order to provide flexibility to your debt fund. So that's what this is. And I'll stop right there. I had Tyner, I know anytime that I'm talking to my kids or my loved ones, we're always talking about, here's our situation. Now, when you compare yourself to others, you're in a very fortunate position. So I gave Tyner, to pass to you, basically a spreadsheet of top 25 counties in Texas. Nueces County, today, you ranked 14 in population. If you see on that page 1 of 2 that I just gave you. Now, that's even an uglier page. That's numbers everywhere. But I highlight Nueces County for you, and you'll see how you're a AA2 and a AA plus by Moody's and S&P. At the very bottom, there's a little ranking row that I put for your benefit. So you're 14. You're among the top 10 counties in the state with the highest ratings. Some of the highest ratings are the counties of Harris and Houston, Dallas, Tarrant, Bexar, San Antonio, Travis, and Collin, Plano. Literally, you only come in below, you're actually higher than literally everybody below you on the 14th, ranking. USS value, we used $27 billion. That was out of your CAFR. You're pretty much in the middle of the pack. You're not too high on value, too high on debt. You're where you're supposed to be. When you turn the page, though, you look at the same ranking row, and you'll find that you're 11 in terms of your debt and everybody's debt within the county of Nueces. So when you look at your county versus other counties, you're slightly higher than other counties in terms of less debt by overlapping jurisdictions. Then you look at your tax rate. Your tax rate is at 30 cents, or 31 cents for that matter. You're number 5. 5 in terms of the lowest tax rate among the top 25 counties. You look at what makes your tax rate. M&O, you're number 7, and INS number 10. Then we talk about the revenue. How much revenue you're generating versus other counties with the tax rate that you're imposing. You're 17. And then where it gets red is where you need to do a little bit of an action to restore that, and that is that your savings account and the fund balance have dropped, and thus I believe that as the budget is being presented to you in the next week or two, there's going to be an effort. We have to make an effort of restoring the savings account. So you're in 22 there versus 14 middle of the pack. These are as of 17, so we don't know what's happened to the other counties for the fiscal year 18, but this is where you were in 17. Your unfunded pension liability, that's made the news everywhere in the state as to how local governments or political subdivisions are having a challenge with meeting their liabilities on the pensions. You're at 13 in terms of this is what you owe to the fund, $37.8 million, versus having funded by $37.8 million. So when you are at about 88% on the very far right-hand column, you're at 9th compared to the other counties. And for rating purposes, if you're in the 80 percentile, between 75 and 80 percentile, you should be fine in terms of that liability. And you're at 88.5%. So everything is fine. It's just attempting to get up to speed with our savings account, both in the M&O and the INS fund. And I'll conclude that and entertain questions you may have.
Questions, please. This.
Yes. So you think about it, your fund is probably north of $400 million, so you're only short about 37. Well, think about it like this. It's not that you owe it. It's based on a study. So you have actuaries done, and some people are going to assume that you're going to live to be 100, but Dell is going to be here for only 70, or for that. I don't mean that. But at the end of the day, it's about taking an average, and what if everybody retires and everybody lives a long life? Well, the pensioner has to meet its obligations. So they're all studies, and if you fund it to 100%, some people may question, why do you have it funded at 100%? So you're at a very reasonable rate. So the rating agencies actually tell us, hey, why you're at 88%. I mean, all the counties in Texas, for that matter, if you look at everybody there, pretty much is in good shape. It's cities with police and fire funds.
The cities are not.
Yeah, that's where the challenge is.
Where is the city right now? They were in the 60 percentile for a while.
Judge, that's a good question, but I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's not at 88%.
That's right. I'd rather be where we are.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What do we pay per month to try and fund that balance for the pensions? What do we
Dale?
We have set up with an agreement with our retirement system, and we meet with the judge and Christian on this every time. They provide us with a percentage of the cost of our per labor. Right now we're at 12.95% of our labor cost would be retirement, and we meet that cost, and that's around $8 to $10 million roughly. And we're about ready to, this next budget cycle is going to be going up to 13.03% of our salaries, and right now our salaries say about $41 million for the general fund. So that's in the neighborhood of 10, 12, 13 million dollars.
No, it's a little bit less than that, but yeah.
But that's how we do the funding, and we meet the requirements that our retirement system provide to us every year. We sit down there and make sure that this is what it is to be able to fund what we must fund to keep it at the percentage we need to be at.
So we fund what we must fund.
Yes, ma'am.
Try and fund more so that we can catch up.
That's correct.
Do you think we should be doing that?
We can possibly do that if
What's that?
To fund more of our.
Oh yeah. No. Well, you came from an environment recently where the leadership of the city elected to underfund their obligation intentionally so they could meet their budget requirements. We've never done that to county. We've always fully funded the requirement. The reason why it varies is when the market collapsed in 2007, the retirement fund guarantees a return rate of 7%, which is uncalled for, I think. But anyway, they guarantee 7%. In order to do that, they had to project forward for growth in the marketplace to recover the loss. And when they recovered the loss in the retirement fund, it caused our contributions to go up substantially. We were told by the retirement system that as the market returned, that would go down. It hadn't quite got there yet, but we're fully funded to the requirement actuarially, and I will tell you, 88% in today's environment for public bodies is pretty good. Pretty good. It really is. And to fund more than that, it comes out of the general fund. And over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have some very extensive discussions about general fund and balance and everything else. But Carolyn, it's a great idea, but I can tell you moving forward, if you can just keep up with what they are asking you to do, I think the payout's about 12 or 13 years under the current scenario to catch up unless the market collapses again.
Yeah, I think, if I may, Judge,
yeah.
I think there are 4 factors that affect whether you're short or over. One is funding. If you want to fund more, you can cure that. But it also is returns on the fund, as the judge has mentioned. So in 2017, S&P was up by about 22%. So I suspect when you get the report from TMRS, or TRS actually, right? Texas Retirement System Fund? Yeah. I suspect that fund exceeded that 6 or 7% return because it's invested in various asset classes. So you're not going to get 22% in return in that fund, but I suspect you're going to be north of 9 or 10. So the problem with that fund is they don't report to you until 6 months after their fiscal year has ended. So we won't see how you've improved in that funding, but I suspect that you're going to be probably higher than the 88% when they report to us how that fund performed. So that's the second factor. Third factor is your benefits. What did you promise your pensioner, that you would fund him or her when they're retired. And then and then the actuarial. So there are 4 factors that come into play. And if you do one, like many years ago, the city of Dallas, who we represent, had a challenge in meeting its obligations on general government. We went and borrowed money through a GO obligation, put more money into the fund, and then 07 hits. So we go back to where we were. So you have to be very mindful of the benefits, as the judge has pointed out. So what happens with municipal governments is that they're under a tremendous amount of pressure because police and fire, which are groups that always want, the proper benefits for that matter, sometimes they have their own funds. Thankfully here you're with TRS, so if something happens to them, it's going to happen to every county in Texas. Whereas sometimes you have these individual funds that need better governance sometimes to keep an eye on how that money is being invested. Because if it's not invested properly, then you're likely to have to write a bigger check. And that's where the pressures are today out there. But I honestly, from your perspective, Commissioner, I know we can agree to disagree. I think you're in a very reasonable, good position as a fund stands.
Well, I don't want us to get in the position that the city was in when I got on council.
Yeah.
I don't believe they're in that position now because
Yeah.
that happened years ago. Then they came back in. Olson came in and said, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to have to do something. We've got to make up for that. And I just always say, do whatever percentage you have to, but try and add a little more to that.
Sure.
So you stay ahead because you want to have this money if we need to have it.
Well,
I don't ever want to have to borrow something to fund that.
well, I think, again, the law of averages, I will be the first one. I can be candid, too. The law of averages, if you get into the 58 to 70%, I'm going to come here and tell you, you got to do something about that. But you're not there.
I know you will.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions?
So going back to this, Judge, if
Right.
this court would decide to do this transaction, today we're just coming to you July 25th, present a debt overview. On August the 8th, I believe, you have another regular meeting.
Yes.
And we can talk about that then, where
Right.
basically, if you so choose to go this route, you will authorize us to proceed, and hopefully before Labor Day or after Labor Day, we'll price the obligations and have you locked in to a tax rate that you
Commissioners, I would like to recommend, and we can't vote on this because it's not a voting item, right? Is that correct? But I would like to recommend that we move forward with the prospect of refinancing a portion of our debt. Let Noe and his firm work all of this up for us and have a formal presentation and agenda item on the 8th,
August 8th, yes.
August the 8th, because this will become a big part of our budget discussion starting that day as well. Now, I think it's very important for everybody to understand that we're fixing debt side here. This has nothing to do with the actions that this court is going to have to take on the operational side budget, which you will see on the 6th, or hopefully before that, but on the 6th. What we're trying to do now is fix the fund balance in the debt service fund. And as you can see, if we don't take some action quickly, we're going to be in a deficit position in the debt service fund, which means we have to supplement that fund out of the general fund, because you always have to pay your debt first. So I'm going to hope that the court agrees with me that we'll move forward to the next level and let Noe bring a formal presentation back on the 8th or whatever that day is, so we can vote on this particular proposal. Refinancing debt is something that we've done cautiously here at the county, but to the advantage of the taxpayers. And I think my recommendation certainly is going to be that we do this, but this is an opportunity for us to redo or resupply money to the debt service fund. And as you can see on the example where we would not be called upon, you would not be called upon for the next 4 or 5 years, and build that fund balance back up. And as Noe said, hopefully it'll be more than 1.7 million, maybe it'll be 3 million. But this is an action that needs to be taken, so with the permission of the court, I'm going to tell Noe, let's go ahead and get that proposal done. we'll bring it back. We'll have a formal discussion and vote on this on the meeting. But Noe, I want to thank you and your firm. You've done a great job for this county all the years, and this is good information, and it's something that I think we need to do.
Judge, may I request something?
Yes.
I do agree with you, and I would just request that when you get the proposal together, could you get it to us early so that we can look at it before we come in here and have
Absolutely.
it presented?
Most definitely.
Thank
Yes, ma'am. In fact, we can schedule meetings to make sure everybody understands it. And while I'm talking about it, we're going to be scheduling meetings as soon as we sort of firm up where we are on the regular budget. We're going to be scheduling meetings with Dale and Kristen, with each of you, to spend as much time as you can and you want to before we begin to really look at our budget. And so we want you as informed as we can be. The 8th is going to be a very important day because we're going to spend a lot of time on this. But Noe, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I got just one question.
Question.
To clarify this thing. You said our fund balance right now is 1.7 million
Yes, in this particular fund.
for the debt. What's our hope?
Is there a goal? Excellent question. I think if you were to be at about 20%, that would be good of your payment. So your annual payment is about $13 million. You want to be at least $2.6 million. And it's projected to be about $1.7 million. And we've been as high as $3 million too. So you're not too far off. It's a smaller fund, but when you contribute $2 million a year, that can become a little hairy. So $2.6 million is where you want to be.
But we contribute how much right now?
From that particular fund that you have, you contribute about $2 million
To the debt.
to the debt fund in order to keep the tax rate at the 4 pennies or 4.5 pennies. Otherwise, the choice is if you do nothing, then you're going to have to make an adjustment of the tax rate based on property values that have been presented.
What's the total amount of our debt?
The total amount of debt outstanding is $120 million. And in order to pay off that debt, you're scheduling payments of about $13 million over the next 10 years. But you cover not only principal, you also cover interest. So your payment on average, if you go over to page 2 of that presentation, the third column, you'll see, fourth column, existing debt service payments. So very much like your mortgage. Every month you're making your payment on an annual basis. This particular county is paying about $13.5 million. And then it grows to $13.9 million, because we made assumptions that property values will go up. When property values actually go the other way, then it puts pressure on tax rate, puts pressure on savings. So the benefit to the taxpayer here is to try to provide a flexible amortization schedule. So you can continue having your disposable income on other areas of the budget.
Either that or we make bigger payments.
Or make bigger payments. But the bigger payments are going to have to come from cash or tax rate.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Noe.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for coming down. Thank you. Juan? Thank you for doing this.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Today I'm giving you a brief update on the release of the revised draft preliminary flood insurance maps. They were sent to us back in May 30th of 2018. The documents that I'm going to present to you were in response to local appeals submitted last year, Judge. There were 6 areas that we had submitted for appeals, or the local had submitted for appeals. 5 of the areas were approved, which were Driscoll, Robstown, Blunzer property, the South Side, Corpus Christi, and Port Aransas Paradise Point subdivision. The one that did not get approved was the Chapman Ranch. On Driscoll, this was the initial firm map based on the appeal. What you see in the red circle is the outline of the area that was in question. And then, as you can see on the top and bottom right-hand corner, those were the current year floodplain, and then the preliminary 100-year floodplain map. This is the changes based on the appeals on the preliminary If you can see that on one in Driscoll, they did modify the ones on the southwest corner and the southeast corner. The change from 100-year to the 500-year on the southwest corner, and then it changed from 100-year to 100-year with the BFE, which is the base flood elevation on the southwest corner. The current 100-year floodplain, you can see in the hatched red, with the blue hatch areas, and then the red area on the bottom right-hand corner where it says remained 100-year floodplain, that remained. For Robstown, on the preliminary firm, as you can see, the magenta or the pink area that goes through 44, kind of going all the way to 77. The area in question was the one encircled in the red. And then based on the new changes that got approved, you can see that everything got shifted back to, I'm going to say, to Bosquez Ditch, which is that main drainage ditch that runs along from west to east to 77. And that got relocated. For Blunt's area, it's on County Road, or FM 624 and 3088. The area in question is the one in Circle. The floodplain, that was the one in question. The preliminary floodplain area remained on the right-hand corner. And then with the new changes that got approved, as you can see, that got shifted over to the west and going back to the circled area. So that got taken out. For the city of Corpus Christi, this is in the south side. The question, there was an area in question with the floodplain area in question, which is in the circle, in the red circle. And you can see where the preliminary 100-year plain remained in the red. And then the next one is a slide that shows the changes that were made to the city of Corpus Christi on the south side. For Port Aransas, the changes revised from the special flood hazard area from a VE to an AE based on the 2016 certification. And then it got, that's the one that got modified. That's the one that got approved. And then on Chapman Ranch, that's the one that was in question, the one in Circle. In conclusion, the preliminary firm maps are available. There is a 90-day appeals for after notification. And effective date of the firms is from 7 to 10 months, which we're looking at sometime next year before the firm maps get approved, which will be sometime in August of next year. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Public Works. Oh, I'm sorry, we got Public Works. Who's got number 2 in Public Works? You won?
Yes, sir. Quick. And this one, Commissioner, is for the drainage bond, for the construction and the road bond for Royal Estates, Unit 2. They met the requirements for to release their bond for the drainage and the roads only. So we're requesting and recommending to court to release the bond, only for the road and drainage commission.
And this is being done in Petronila Unit 1 and 2?
Yes, sir. This is Unit 2, Commissioner.
Okay. And is it, are you talking only releasing the road?
The road and the drainage bond.
What else are they doing out there?
They still have to do the utilities. They have to do the septic tanks, and they also do have to do the water. And those bonds won't get released until those items are completed. and those are based on based on the final completion of that.
Roads are up to par?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We've gotten the test result, and we've gotten everything that's required in order for us to release.
Okay.
Do we have a motion on that?
Do we need a motion for that?
Oh, no. Need to make a motion.
So moved.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Pose same sign. Thank you. Go ahead.
The next item, go to proceed, Judge. The next item is for the plats of lots, Block 3 and Lot 5, Block 2, in the San Petronila Unit 1 and Lot 23, I'm sorry, 23 Block 3, in San Petronila Unit 2. We're recommending approval of the plats.
Okay, questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, after that subdivision out that we discussed this week, I'm really concerned about how some of this goes down. And it says in here, it says, since the subdivision plat, it does not comply with the present Nueces County plating order. Does that matter?
No, ma'am. On that one, since they're individual lots, and I think these were platted a while back, based off of that, we can recommend for approval since it's an old subdivision.
An old subdivision?
Yes, ma'am.
And they're only for planting? They're being platted?
Yes, sir. They're only requesting for platting.
Do they also have to put septic and water well?
Yes, sir. That is a requirement.
Driveways?
Driveways, we need to look into that one, Commissioner. Yes, ma'am.
Well, eventually, if you're going to leave it, you have to put a driveway.
Yeah, you have to
Well,
put
the reason I'm asking is because we've had a problem with that on how they're building the driveways.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's hurting the drainage. So I'm hoping that that's going to be resolved before we go into some more.
Yes, ma'am. We will.
Okay.
We're looking into that.
But once we approve this, I mean, it's not going to come back. I mean, it's...
Yeah, Commissioner, on this one, what they will end up doing, they'll end up submitting on this one part, since it's an old subdivision, what they'll end up doing is submitting a driveway permit, and at that point in time, we can make the recommendations on, to setting the culverts and the driveway location. On this, Commissioner, since it's an old driveway, we do have some that we can oversee, yes, make sure that they do it correctly.
They still have to purchase their own culverts, right?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
We'll help them with the driveway, but they can put the culvert.
That is correct, since it's an old subdivision.
And that is so weird to me, that since it's an old subdivision, we have to go out there and we can do that. But in a new subdivision, we don't. And I know it's because of the construction, or the person that owns the land.
Mm-hmm.
But it just seems like we really need to update some of which we've talked about.
Yes, ma'am, we're looking into that, and we're starting to make some comments on our subdivision rules and also on the agreements that we're going between the county and the city. We've already made some recommendations, and we'll be providing those to legal for their review.
Also, a lot of them, are before the model subdivision rules. So after the model subdivision came into effect, then that's where they have to meet all the requirements.
Yes, sir.
But some of these were built before this model subdivision rules.
But eventually it affects the drainage out there.
Oh, yeah, they will.
And we get that. We get to take care of that. Thanks, Juan.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Any other questions? I need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, and I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Pose same sign. Auditor?
We have one item that covers two different items, budget change order number 19 and capital projects number 70. My staff and I have gone over all the requests for budget change orders. We've looked over all the transactions. The funds are there for these transactions to be done. Most of them are be routine towards the end of the year that we're coming up to. So we would definitely submit that for your consideration. For our project change order number 70, we're just moving some monies around to cover the airport terminal building and airport apron that needs some funds, and we're moving some money around. Also for the annex fire department, or fire alarm, we had some money already set aside for the skylight in the courthouse. We're going to move funds around for those. The funds are available for this. That will not impact any other departments that we request. Submit budget change order 19 and 70 for your approval. I'll answer any question you might have.
So, this change order 70?
Yes.
This is what we talked about, I guess, was it our last meeting about the courthouse skylight replacement?
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes. Any other questions?
I have some questions.
Sure.
Okay, so you've got a lot of sheets in there where your budget transfer forms on different things.
Mhm.
And I guess my question's this, because I sit and I look at this and I see Okay, let me give you an example. You have an increase in salaries and professional services, and you decrease the office expenses of maintenance, repair, other services and charges, and travel. So you could get to the amount, which is $8,700. Is this standard that y'all do that? Because it looks to me like after going over all of these different ones that I looked at, they decrease some so they can increase others. Is that standard for y'all to do that? Because it sounds like what they're doing is they're saying, okay, I want $20,000 for office supplies, knowing that later on down the road they don't really need the $20,000, but they can use it for something else. Is that what's going on?
No, ma'am. We try to, during the budget cycle, we try to make sure every department has a request in for what they may need. But during the year, certain things come up that we need to fix. For example, my office you were talking about, we've had several vacancies, and as well as Hurricane Harvey required me to have a lot of temporary salary. So I'm having to cover that, and to be able to cover that, I'm willing to give up some of my office supplies that may need it there, because my budget is pretty stretched on the stuff I need. But I'm willing to do this, and because of the beginning of the year when we had Hurricane Harvey, I purposely didn't travel to several of the conferences that I had, knowing that I would possibly need money for the travel to cover additional. And the professional services that you see is our software agreement that we have with QuickBooks, and as well as our financial software to maintain the services we have. So we usually try to budget them, and we try to have a known amount that we try to make sure we live with. And over the years, sometimes it takes adjustments. And for our office supplies, we'll have to not have as much as we have towards the end of the year as we need.
Okay, it just concerns me because I don't see just one. I see a lot of them that are doing that. And to me, you stick to your budget. But and I understand what happened about Harvey. But just like in coastal parks, salaries overtime, $8,600, he decreased the professional services and he decreased his salary. I mean, his travel. So that's just a flag to me when it's done that many times.
Yes. And we try to make sure we're on them constantly. My staff talks to each of these departments when we have these change orders to see why they're doing this, try to better maintain their budget they have, and try to live within the means that we provide them. For coastal parks, sometimes situations come up, and we have to do this for overtime, because right now he's got, I think, 3 vacancies in his heavy equipment operation functions that he's trying to fill with either temporary or overtime, because there's only one when you normally have 3.
We're obviously not on zero-based budgeting, are we?
No.
No, we're not.
Never be.
Well, that's disappointing.
You'll never be in this county.
And why is that, Judge?
Well, you have too many elected officials who independently operate their own department. We have a constant discussion with staffing and with the use of their time and their assets. But you have to remember, over here, they independently operate their operation. We set a general overall budget here, and it's X, and that's what the auditor's saying. But to move around within that budget is the discretion of the elected official. And so the elected official can spend his or her money as they see fit, as long as the auditor says within the grand total, you're okay. So you see a lot of changes as you move through this budget based on an elected official's use of their money. As long as a dollar is a dollar is a dollar, they take the position, and very strongly, and rightfully so, they take the position that they can spend that money within their budget to operate their department, because they are constitutionally required to do X. And so when you see a lot of this changing a few dollars here and a few dollars here and moving money and all, it's within the scope of the 100%. So you're going to find, as we get into this new budget and as you get here a while, that the independence of the elected officials constitutionally is extremely strong.
It is extremely strong.
And within there, as when we say you have $1 to spend, and here's how you think you'll spend it, but 4 months into that, they find out they can't spend it there, they have to move it somewhere else, they go back to the auditor, who doesn't work for us. He works for he works for the district courts. But he is responsible for making sure when he comes to us to change, we approve the change within their budget.
And I get that.
Yeah, and I'm not preaching at all, Carolyn. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm trying to say is that it's extremely different from a hierarchy of a city manager who says, here's what you'll spend. Like when we give money to the county clerk to do whatever, she gets a budget. Now she has to manage that budget within the parameters of getting her constitutional job done, and many times it requires to come back to the auditor and come back to the court and say, I need to move the money. Now, if we don't let them do that, it comes out of the contingency fund, and we do not have that kind of money. So,
and I know they're going to do that. I
yeah,
know that.
yeah.
To me, this is the very reason that there is such a frustration in this country over government. This right,
Well,
the leeway that they have is just unfortunate, and some of it needs to be changed. And I know that I alone cannot do that.
Well, hey, believe me, we feel like you do most of the
well,
time.
yeah, and at the end of the day, it is up to that constitutionally elected official to run his or her department. And they,
Get elected or not elected.
well, it's not so much that. They have a responsibility. She has a responsibility to run the legal department, and if she comes back to court and says, I got a vacancy here and I want to move it over here and do something else, and he says it's all within the scope of her budget, really all we can do is approve that, because she's going to tell us how she's going to operate that department.
I think, I don't know if we can or not, but I think
Yeah, that's the way it is.
in the long run, I think your question also, like, if you got $5,000, for his professional services, and 2 years in a row, you didn't use those $5,000, but you moved them around, maybe we can, say maybe next year will be $3,000, but now we're cutting back their budget.
Yeah.
So,
It's just frustrating.
There's another way to do it.
Well, yeah, and wait till the 6th and 8th of August.
Can I say something, Judge, please?
Thank you.
Judge, thank you for using me as an example, but we are good stewards, just for the record, of our budget.
I know.
Thank you.
I wasn't using you as an example. I was using you as a constitutionally elected official who had responsibility within your budget to do it, and that's what you do. A good job. Okay. Did we approve that? We're good there? Did we vote on that?
You haven't voted. No motion, nothing.
I need a motion, please. I need a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. It's a great question, Carol, and you're gonna see more of this over the next few weeks as we really get into peeling the onion back a little bit on these budgets. But that's where we are. We're going to go into executive session. Executive session the court may go into executive session at any time for items posted on the agenda. We will now go into executive session under the authority of Government Code, Vernon's Texas Code, sections 55107, 107, 2073, 074, 074, 076, 086, 087. We'll go into executive session at 11:25. Thank you. Okay. Go back into regular session. It's 10 till 12. On the agenda, under 5A, I'd like to make the motion we authorize the county attorney to settle this. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign. Under B, it was information only. We thank you for bringing this to our attention, and that's the balance that I have on the agenda. You have anything else, Tyner? Is that it? All right, Joe, do you have anyone to?
I think I do.
Thank you. Adjourn in memory of. Thank you.
Yeah, Julian Hernandez Jr. passed away on July 10th, 2018. Hernandez was served in the United States Air Force 33 years, including active duty, reserve duty, and DEA special assignments. He is the father to Lisa Hernandez.
Very good. John, anyone?
Yes, Judge. I was also going to want to recognize Mr. Hernandez as well.
Good.
Maria Ramon, longtime resident in Banquete. Darlene Perez Chavez, longtime resident of Robstown, and Miguel Garza, also resident of Robstown.
Very good. Anyone, Carolyn? Anyone else? Let's rise, please. Thank you. Mic is off. Mic is off.